Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Meet the Candidates Night for School District D300 trustees to be elected in the April 4th consolidated election. This forum is hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area. My name is Carol Grom and I'll be the moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to empower voters and encourage informed participation in our democracy. One of the ways we do that is to hold candidate forums or events like this to provide voters an opportunity to hear the candidates running for election. The events sponsored by the League give candidates for local offices a chance to present information about themselves and their candidacy, background and skills, reasons for running for office, what they hope to accomplish if elected, and positions on various issues relevant to the office. All candidates in contested races were invited to participate. Each one was given the opportunity to fill out a candidate questionnaire on our website, and their written responses can be found by clicking on their name in the voter guide at lwvelginarea.org. The format for this evening will be different from past candidate forums. The candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and then instead of specific questions from the moderator and the audience, each will have 2 minutes to give their views on several topics. Each candidate will have the option to speak on all of the topics or to skip one if he chooses. Our timekeeper seated up here will show the candidates when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when their time is up. We ask you, the audience members, to please silence all cell phones and remain silent and seated during the forum. This forum will be recorded and posted to the LWV Elgin Area YouTube channel, where you can find it via links on our website, again, lwvelginarea.org, and our Facebook page. The sheet that you were given that lists all of the forums, some of which have already taken place, some of which are still coming, at the bottom of that sheet is our website, and you can, again, go to our voter guide, which will show you the candidates' questionnaires if they have filled them out, and also the links to the recording once they are posted. Tonight we have 5 of the 8 candidates for 4 seats on the District 300 Board of Trustees: Randi, Gauthier, Kristina, Konstanty, Olutola, Tola, Makinde, Laura, Parman, and Nancy Zettler. Stephen Fiorentino filled out the candidate questionnaire on our website, but was unable to participate tonight due to work-related travel. Connie Kane declined to participate, and Robert Reining did not respond to our invitation. So we want to welcome our candidates and thank you for agreeing to participate tonight. And Ms. Gauthier, we will begin with your 3-minute introduction.
Sorry. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having us, first of all. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak. My name is Randi Gauthier. I am hopeful to earn a seat on the D300 school board April 4th, and welcome your support and your vote. I have lived in the area for 8 years, almost 9. We have 3 children, me and my husband. We've been married for 17 years. Our children are, my son is 16. I have a 12-year-old middle school daughter who is in 6th grade, and then we have a 2.5-year-old daughter who is going to be enrolled in D300 preschool. So I've got a lot of time that I'm going to be continuing to spend in the district, and it's incredibly important to me to continue to advance all the initiatives that I believe that our current board and teachers and district and school buildings have worked so hard on. So there's a lot of initiatives and things going on that I think I'd like to continue to advance on. I So 3 kids, obviously. I was a paraprofessional after my time being a PTO president at Wright Elementary. So I've been volunteering in a school since my oldest was in preschool. We moved to D300 when he was in 2nd grade, and we went through the tour. We went through the tour, and he kind of looked around and said, "I want to start now." And it was April of his 2nd grade year. So I was very happy to drive him to 301, which is where he was completing his 2nd grade year. We decided to just go ahead and have him start. So he went ahead and we had the most amazing teachers at Wright. I decided to get completely and fully involved. I was a PTO president. And then after my run as a PTO president, I decided to become a paraprofessional. So I was in charge of doing, I was in a blended preschool program. Again, it was in 301, and that gave me the job. And then the timer. So I've worked in schools. I've worked in a school, and I volunteered in schools, and it's just always been something that's been passionate, like a passion of mine is to do that. So I am also a foster parent. So we have an adopted, our 2.5-year-old is adopted, and then we've also had other children in our homes, and so there's. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Konstanty, your 3-minute introduction, please.
Hi, my name is Kristina Konstanty. I live in Gilbert's with my husband and 2 children. We moved here in 2015 for one reason only, the high-performing school district. I currently work as a registered nurse, and I've been doing that for over almost 20 years at our local hospital. I'm very active in the community. I'm a volunteer soccer coach for the Park District here, a leader for American Heritage Girls at our Catholic Church, and I volunteer at various school-related events. I was at the Midnight Mile for Dundee Middle School, overnight shift, because that's what I normally work. It was pretty natural for me. I do the school parties, field trips, and as far as the district level, I am on the District 300 Parent Advisory Committee, and I'm a consistent attendee and speaker at regular and finance school board meetings. I feel I would be a great school board member. I ask hard questions, I listen, I love our community, and I want it to continue to be excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Makinde.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to the LWVEA for having us here tonight. My name is Tola Makinde, and I'm running because I love community service. My mom always instilled in me growing up that when you give back, you get a turn back. So I've always found ways to always give back. I would like to be a voice for everyone in the community, for all the students in our community, especially those that are feeling unheard or feel underrepresented in making district decisions. My husband and I have been married for 34 years. I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. My oldest is 32 and my youngest is 20. We've been in this area for over 20 years. And my 4 kids went through the 300 community schools. Hampshire Middle School, we're in the same building. The Cambridge Charter School, Hampshire Middle School, Liberty Elementary, before moving all the kids to Gilbert's. So I'm pretty familiar with all the schools in the area. I'm also familiar with the different programs that we offer in our schools, like AVID. One of my sons went through AVID. All my kids went through the arts and music. Arts and music is my jam. I'm a professional. I have 20 plus years in project management. I have my bachelor's in computer science and my master's in information systems. I'm always finding myself in trouble. I'm open to be in some good trouble this time around. I've been part of the DEI committee for the district for the past couple of years since its inception. We've done some critical work, and I'm kind of happy with my participation in that group. I feel like I bring a lot to the table. I'm a very innovative person, so my brain is constantly going. So I know I can bring a different perspective to our board. I know with all the experience that I have as a project manager, I'm a tech-savvy person. I'm a team player. I work well with everyone, so I know I'll be a valuable piece to our district board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parman.
Hi, I'm Laurie Parman, and I have lived in District 300 for the past 32 years. All of my husband and I have been married for 43 years. We have 5 children. All 5 of our children graduated from Dundee Crown High School. And we now have 10 grandchildren. Our first grandchild is in Sleepy Hollow Elementary. And in the next 4 years, we will have 4 more. We also have some older ones, but they're in a different district. I have been working as a teacher for 30 years. I'm now retired, and 22 of those 30 years were in District 300. I taught elementary, and I taught high school in District 211 right before my children were born, and then I took 20 years off, and I got another certificate to teach elementary education, and I taught reading and writing to 3rd and 5th graders for about 18 years. And then there was just reshuffling the district, and I decided to go back to my high school roots and teach culinary arts, fashion, and fashion merchandising at Dundee Crown. And I just retired from there a year ago. I have a master's in educational leadership. I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I've participated on a variety, as you can imagine, over that many years. I participated in a lot of District 300 community committees. In the 2 that I think really prepared me for this were the boundary committees that I participated in. I was an interim administrator as well, and I served as the administrator for 3 different summer schools. So I do bring the teacher's perspective to the board, and I want to ask for your vote. I want to be on the District 300 board, and I think I could provide a good team spirit, and I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Zettler.
Good evening. Thank you, Lois and Carol, for putting in everybody else. I'm sure this is a present. We ran one of these last year when everybody dropped out of yours. So we threw one together and we didn't realize how hard it was to do something like this. So thank you so much, I appreciate it. I'm Nancy Zettler. I am currently sitting as Vice President on the board. I'm here to ask for your support for re-election. Those of you who don't know me, I moved here in 1999, and I grew up in an education household. My mom was a teacher for almost 30 years. And we were raised, my sisters and I were raised as an education family. Learned to appreciate education. My mom always taught us that when you go to school, you should not only learn, but you should learn to love to learn, so that when you go on with your life, then you will always be curious and always interested in finding out new things. And that's kind of what brought me here now. When we moved here in 1999, my husband and our oldest daughter Riley, Riley was around 2, and I almost immediately put her in a wagon and started going door to door, knocking for referendum that they were floating. And of course, I got a lot more positives when I had a 2-year-old cute little kid in the wagon, but still. And I've been working for the district and in the district ever since. I worked in the mid-2000s on the referendums that we passed that brought us back from some serious financial issues that we were about to fall into. A few years after that, I was one of the people who led the community portion of the effort to go down to Springfield and fight the Sears EDA, which over 20 some odd years that cost us over $500 million. People don't realize it, but it cost us that much money. And then over the years, people have asked me to run. I always felt I had a little more power outside outside of the board than on the board, but after my kids graduated, they both graduated from Jacobs and went to college, then I decided it was time to be able to focus a lot on the board. The board is not an easy job. It's, but it's a very satisfying, gratifying job because we have the opportunity to do the best we can for kids and make their lives and educations better. Coming out of COVID, there's still a lot that has to be done. I would like your support so that I can go back on the board and continue the work we're doing. I think we're doing a lot of great work, getting the kids back together emotionally and back in the position where they can be open to learning. And we are instilling a lot of great programs that we're going to be doing, that are already starting, that is going to help us get them back on track academically as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Pass the mic back up to Kristina. Now we're going to ask the candidates for their views on 4 pre-selected topics that were given to them in advance. The 4 topics for the District 300 school board candidates are budget priorities and funding, catching up after COVID, serving students with diverse and special needs, and curriculum trends and decisions. We're going to begin with Ms. Konstanty. What are your thoughts on budget priorities and funding? You have 2 minutes.
We are a large district. Our residents are in 4 counties. We have about 20,000 students. We deal with millions of dollars, TIFs, referendums, tax levies. We should have a regular audit of our finances by an outside firm. We need to look at administrators and maybe do an audit on them. An audit to see how their job salaries, positions are impacting our strategic plan would be very helpful. The District 300 Finance Committee meets monthly. The Standing Board Committee, it's called the Finance and Construction and Facility Oversight. It reviews the finances of the District 300 and it was established to oversee new construction, renovation of buildings in District 300 and to monitor the operation and maintenance of facilities. I would encourage more members of the community to not only attend those meetings, but you can apply to be on those committees as residents. I think it's one of the most important committees that our school district has because of the many items the board votes on is discussed in detail at these meetings. They have an open session and also a public comment session. So I would like to encourage more residents to join and I would like to be on that committee if I'm elected to the District 300 board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Makinde, what are your thoughts on budget priorities and funding?
Currently, looking at the data for our financial reports and whatnot that's on the site, based on some of the things that I've listened to going to board meetings, we're currently at good financial status. I think in regards to budgeting, I think we will need to look in different creative ways. We can do some things differently. For example, like our teachers, how we can reward them maybe in a different way. Look for creative ways on what we can do to make sure that they have a job that they're not getting stressed out over. That when you're working at a job, if you're happy with what you're doing, you won't have any thoughts about leaving it. So we need to find creative ways in regards to that. Maybe budget. Part of the budget we can kind of look into some ways in using some of the funds that we have. My role on the board, my goal is to get a little bit more into the finance. I'm a very detail-oriented person, and I know getting to the finance committee, trying to find out some of the details of how the funds are being spent and or how the budgeting is done, I will learn a little bit more about what goes on there. But as of right now, that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Parman, your views on budget priorities and funding.
Well, as to budgeting and funding, I'm aware that school districts have specific buckets, that's the term they use, of types of funding, and that the money for each of those types of funding has to stay in that bucket. My question is, we certainly received a lot of money from the federal government, and then it was given to the states, and we still have some of that left. And I would like to look at that and try to figure out and learn, you know, how does that money travel? What can that be used for? And it seems like we have quite a bit of that money left. So in terms of what we spend our money on, it has to be apportioned correctly. And I completely agree with Tola that it's not money that makes teachers stay. It's a winning team, and that is what we need to do. I would like to spend some money, appropriate some money for studying teacher satisfaction within our own district. I think if we did that, if it was an outside company, that we could find out a lot of valuable information and be able to put our money in the right places to keep teachers here in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Zettler, budget priorities and funding.
Sure. Well, I'm sure everybody here realizes that funding and budgeting, all kinds of the financial stuff with the district, especially a district our size, is very complicated. There are different areas that we get money from. Unfortunately, the largest chunk of money we get is from our property tax dollars. Excuse me. Didn't have a voice at all this morning, so this is much better. And so, you know, we're always looking for ways to try to make sure that we can do things without spending more property tax dollars, because all of us know that's a big burden. It's a burden on us too. But I am here to tell you that we are in an extremely good position financially in this district. We just built a school, $40 million elementary school, without raising tax dollars by 1 penny. We didn't have to float a referendum. We did it because the people that are running our financial department at the district, headed by Susan Harkin, one of the most financially brilliant women I've ever met, has done a really great job of pinching pennies and making sure that we're not wasting money. For instance, we do a lot of things that most other districts do by hiring out people, or hiring people to come in and do it. All of our all the asbestos mitigation that we did was done in conjunction with labor from our people, but in conjunction with companies that are experts at it. So we save some money there. A lot of the painting, things like that in the district, anything that we can do within house, we do. We don't always go out and get somebody to come in and do it. Quickly about the ESSER funds, that's what that Laurie was mentioning. It is something that we get from the federal government. There are rules that we have to abide by. We just don't get handed the money. We have to have projects that we apply the money to before we get reimbursed for those projects. And it's something that's doled out over several years. I think we've got 2 or 3 more years left on that. So it's very strict what we can use it for or not. But I just want you to understand that this district is doing great financially. You may have heard something. Sorry.
Thank you. If you would pass the microphone back to Ms. Gauthier. Again, budget priorities and funding.
So what I do know from the board meetings is that the state of our district's finances is healthy. So Ms. Zettler was just talking about the Big Timber Elementary School. I was really interested through that whole process because my children, my youngest actually, she's going to go there. So we did go to Wright Elementary, but we're being redistricted to that new school. So it's exciting to know that we have enough funds without doing a referendum to build a brand new school, and I'm incredibly excited to be moved, our district lines moved where she'll go to that school. Funds for schools come from, definitely certain avenues. You got property taxes, grant money, tax rates, student enrollment numbers. I am traditionally not a very great numbers person, and I do hope to make up for that in other areas, and I hope to become very involved in that committee and learning the best I can. And so I don't have a ton of more to say about that, and I also know that I want to apologize for my first answer. ADHD, so sometimes I can get a little rambly, but I do think that I will be able to recover a little bit and earn your guys' respect. It's hard talking about yourself. So yeah, as far as financing, it was just exciting to see the district kind of pull together and be able to build this new school. And I'm excited to see where we go next.
Thank you. The second topic is catching up after COVID, and we will begin with Ms. Makinde.
Hi. Catching up after COVID. I think one thing we can all agree on is COVID showed us what our flaws are, showed us what our weaknesses are, and shows us how resilient we can be. So with that being said, there's a lot of lessons learned during COVID. Was it perfect? Probably not. Was it how we wanted it to be? Absolutely not. But there's a lot that we can take away from it, and there's a lot that we were able to do that we can use moving forward. For instance, the remote learning, it wasn't like the best for most of the kids. Some kids excelled in it and some did not. But it's something that we can take and kind of like fix some of the issues that we had with it, and then kind of try to use it. I'm kind of a tech person, so I like change. Not that I'm always happy about change. I'm not always happy about change, but I think change always brings good things for the most part. And I think with technology and the way technology is right now, there's a lot that we can do with technology. So we should try to make use of that. So with COVID, with that being said, I think with the academics related to COVID, I think we need to look at the data prior to COVID and now, and try to make sure we can put a lot of resources into our kids, like mental health and some other things, so that they can bounce back from the COVID months. I know things are getting a little better, but I think we still have a long way to go. And that's not just our kids. We have to remember that. That's the whole nation. And that's every kid that went through COVID. And I think if we support them as parents, as a community, they can excel in what they're doing. And I think we need to focus more on those things. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Parman, what are your thoughts on catching up after COVID?
Well, catching up after COVID is going to be quite an undertaking. I view that as the academic mission of the school district. And our students can, at this point, not read and write at grade level. Only 27% of our students can read and write, and I think it's 26% of our students can compute. And before COVID, our scores were in the 30s. So we had some issues, some lingering issues that we have to go back and take a look at and see, when did our downfall start? And I'm not saying this to bash District 300, because this is going on throughout the nation. If we look at our schools that are around District 300, they have the same, St. Charles has the same scores as we do. And our neighbor to the south, U46, even worse. We have to really figure out what we are doing that's causing the downfall. I believe that we're putting a lot of stress on teachers by changing the reading series every couple of years, and the state changes the testing instruments. We don't have a say in that, but we need to look at the things that cause stress for teachers. For example, the platforms that we do our informational technology on, we put our lesson plans there. These are wonderful things, but if the teachers are being asked to reinvent the wheel on this format and then something else and something else and something else, no wonder we have a looming teacher shortage. So we have a large task in front of us, and I really believe I'm the person who can really dig into that and speak to it.
Thank you. Ms. Zettler, what is your perspective on catching up after COVID?
So everybody's right. We have a lot of work to do. I see it as a two-part problem. I think before we can do some work in academics, but I also think that before we can really truly help these kids get back to where they were academically. We need to deal with the emotional issues that are related to what happened during COVID. Everybody it was traumatic for everybody. Obviously, trauma is experienced by different people in different ways, and the trauma that they go through is different. But I'm willing to bet that everybody has had some sort of a reaction to whatever the trauma was that they experienced. But as far as the kids and the teachers are concerned, a lot of it happened not only because of things that were going on at home, but also the fact that they weren't in school, and then they were in school, and then remote, and all that other stuff. And it's something that just kind of piled on, right? So we've done in the district, we've hired a lot of mental health professionals, social workers, psychologists, things like that, to supplement the people that we had already in place to help deal with some of these issues. And I'm not saying every kid is in dire straits or anything like that, but kids need to be able to come to school and feel safe. They need to be able to feel like that they are included, that they're valued, that they're respected, and that they're wanted in school. And we have to work towards making sure that all of those, every single one of our kids is happy as we possibly can get, and make them. It goes back to the love to learn. And I think that the sooner we get the kids back to where they are happy when they're walking through the doors of the schools, the more we'll be able to, and the quicker we'll be able to get them back on track academically. We do have things in place right now that we're implementing and started to build over the next couple of years that we believe is going to help them academically, but also at the same time help getting them back to schooling, we call it. They had problems schooling when they got back, so they weren't used to it. But I think things are on the up and up, and we're going to get better every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll go to Ms. Gauthier, catching up after COVID.
I agree that there's been a certain level of trauma that we've all kind of went through. We, have lost people, or we have people who have long COVID symptoms. And the kids were home for a while, and they saw a lot of things happening in the world, and they saw the adults they trusted arguing with each other. And at some point, school districts and teachers and administrators became the enemy in this. And I don't know exactly where that turn happened, but I very much disagree with it. I've never been more proud to be part of a district than I am right now, actually. I did also at that moment work, when I was working in our neighboring district, 301, they handled the pandemic differently than we did. So I, was sent home and didn't report into work, and we did some things on Zoom, and I saw what my children were given. And I don't know that I actually believe that COVID was a setback. I think we all learned lessons. We learned to slow down. My family, we learned to slow down and appreciate each other and spend time together. And I think we need to go back to respecting the education, the profession of education, and there needs to be a mutual respect passed back and forth for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Konstanty will give you the last word on catching up after COVID.
Well, I believe COVID was a huge setback, and that's what led me to be here. Back when they closed the schools, I was in the hospital fighting COVID one-on-one with very sick patients. In the fall, in 2020, when they were going to reopen the schools, and then last minute the board voted not to, that's when I became involved, because I said, who's making the rules? Who's in charge here? So I started coming to the school board meetings, and I got very involved. I'm a big advocate of in-person learning. I believe that many kids suffered. I saw firsthand who was dying, and they were not healthy children, and they were not healthy adults that we had in our schools. My family is also on Tom DeVore's mask and illegal quarantine lawsuit. And as Laurie said, our scores are pretty bad. 27% of our District 300 students can read or do math at level. That's 14,000 of our students. I believe one big way we can do better catching up is improving the teacher, reversing the teacher shortage. Their absent rates are high, which shows teachers are getting burnt out. Many teachers are leaving, planning their exits. It's due to the behavioral and academic challenges in the classroom. I asked what they needed. They need autonomy in the classroom, less technology. They want to be supported by great leaders and supported by parents at home. Principals and department leaders should not only be taking leadership courses, but they should be trained in everything their teachers and support staff are trained on. That way they can truly support their staff. We are also setting the minimum requirements for teaching staff lower in order to hire more people. These new teachers need help. They need mentorship. We need a residency program for new teachers to support them, to help build their confidence while building a relationship with our seasoned staff. I want our district to be the best. Setting our scores high, whether it be academically, behaviorally, or socially, can really motivate our staff and students.
Thank you. The next topic is serving students with diverse and special needs, and we'll start with Ms. Parman.
Well, the first way that we can serve students with diverse and special needs is to focus on the academics. I mean, all of this is tied together. We have such a shortage, we have a paraprofessional shortage, and we have kids in the classroom who have individual learning plans, IEP, and their minutes are not able to be met. I mean, they're legally met, but sometimes it's just taking a paraprofessional and saying, okay, this is this one class hour, and you're going to go to 3 different students so that you can meet these minutes. And it's not effective. It's like just meeting a goal. So we really have to have the staff. We really do. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to Randi because she gave a really great answer in our last forum, and she talked about oh, now my mind is blank. But she talked about ways to improve. She talked about mentorship of students and now I've got it. She talked about taking some of our high school students and mentoring them up. These solutions are going to take a long time, and that's a long-term goal. But if we start now and we start really talking about how can we actually get our hands around the problems so that we talk about meeting the students, the diverse needs of students. It's not just our minority populations, it's every student. We need to meet every student exactly where they are.
Thank you. Ms. Zettler, what are your views on serving students with diverse and special needs?
So we have a great special ed program in this district. Shelley Nacky, who's the person who's in charge of it, does an amazing job, and she seems to be everywhere all the time. So I don't know how she does it, but we have layers and layers and layers of programs that we use not only to make sure that kids are getting individual attention for their individual needs, but also to in dealing with physical diversity and emotional diversity, things like that. And also our DEI program is now working on inclusion, and we are working on making sure that each child is celebrated for who they are. I've got this story that I just can't get out of my head. At every meeting we have kids come in from different schools to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And afterwards, they, because they're little, they come up on the dais and we stand against the back, and, inevitably they all go like this. They're not looking at us, but they're shaking our hands. And I stood next to Emmanuel Thomas, who is an African-American member of our board. And this little black boy comes walking by, and he's looking down, and he reaches out his hand, and Emmanuel reaches out his hand, and he went like this. and he smiled. I mean, it was like, obviously, he's like, there's somebody who looks like me that's standing on this dais, and things like that are extremely important. You know, there's different needs, different kids all over this district have different needs, and we're doing our best to make sure that everybody is given the chance to have their needs met. And right now, I think we're doing an okay job of it. We have a lot to do, like I said earlier, about emotional needs, but I think all of these things that we've been working on together are starting to build up, to lift us up as a district, and we're going to keep working on it. And I'd like an opportunity to keep working on it too.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Ms. Gauthier. Your thoughts on serving students with diverse and special needs.
So we are licensed foster parents. A lot of those children come from a background of trauma and substance abuse. So we were able to, our district did an incredible job with one of our children who had oppositional defiance disorder and ADHD and regulation issues. So she was not able to self-regulate or be self-aware, and through the minutes she was provided from her IEP, they really did an incredible job. So I do think our district is doing a great job with, you know, things like that. Another diverse section of our district is also LGBTQIA+ students and staff. So we have to continue to celebrate their diversity and what they bring. They bring a sense of just wanting to belong, and they are some of the most incredible, passionate, kind individuals I've ever met and I've ever worked with. So I love that our district we've now started doing an LGBTQIA+ support group and learning space. So there's two different kinds of meetings that you can go to. Those individuals just need to know that I support you, and if I'm elected to the board, I'm gonna support your diversity, I'm gonna support your individualism, and I'm gonna support your safety. It's something we cannot continue to try to go backwards on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Konstanty, what is your perspective on serving students with diverse and special needs?
As Randi was mentioning, we have the LGBTQIA+ Parent Advisory Council, along with a learning space. We also have African American Parent Advisory Committee, and we have a main Parent Advisory Committee, which I'm on. A parent asked me about a Parent Advisory Committee for those with special needs, and I don't believe we have one of those. I think that would be very helpful. I have been listening to parents and teachers around town that say the special needs programs are very hard to navigate. I mean, this is coming from the parents and the staff. One of the special ed teachers I spoke to, she said that she would like more autonomy. We heard that already. I said that mainly for all the teachers, but specifically for her, because she knows her special needs children, her students, the best. She knows what they need, and sometimes she cannot do what she wants to do in the classroom to help them succeed. Her big thing is less technology. She said the Chromebooks, all they're doing is they're on the Chromebooks, and she's trying to troubleshoot half the class, and that's valuable learning time. So she would like less technology and more hands-on with her students. All of our students need to feel welcomed and valued in our district, and parents of all of our parents also need to feel welcomed and valued. There's been a lot of division recently in our district, and I believe that we can improve that tremendously. The support between teachers, staff, and parents are imperative for our students to thrive.
Thank you. Ms. Makinde, serving students with diverse and special needs.
DEI is something that I'm very passionate about. I know what it takes to have DEI, and I know the values behind it from this past few years being on the committee. I think serving diverse and special ed kids in our district is very, very important. One thing we have to do, I think that, I'm not sure how much we do that, is we have to remember that all the kids have different backgrounds. We have to figure out a way as a community to nurture that background. Because if we nurture the background, if a kid is, for example, if a kid is happy and they come to school happy, you know they're going to be able to learn. So if we're able to nurture the place as a community, we'll do a good job with the students. Right now, our community is very divided, so that part of the situation is not like going on right now. So something we need to work on. I think every student within our district deserves an equitable education. They all don't learn the same. We learned that during COVID. Some of them excel, some of them did not. Some of them just fall back. So we need to have an equitable education for each of our students so that they can learn the best way they can in order to excel. We also need to figure out a way to get more diverse educators and staff into our district. You have to see something to want to be something. If our kids see a teacher who looks like them, they have a chance of trying one day want to be like that person. Currently, right now, in my 20 years being a parent in this district, my kid have never had one black teacher. I think every kid deserves that, and I think it's something that we need to work on. There are a lot of qualified teachers out there. I mean, I know there's a shortage right now, but we have to come up with creative ways in order to do that. I think our materials, okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Our fourth and final topic will be curriculum trends and decisions, and you may include in that who makes the decisions. And we will begin with Ms. Zettler.
Well, curriculum is set by the state. We do not have any input in the curriculum, like in other words, if they want us to teach math and science and how much, et cetera, et cetera. We do have the chance to impact how things are taught because the district can and does pick materials that's used to teach whatever we're teaching. That is determined, at least recommendations are made to the board by the experts, the people who are, that know what they're talking about with curriculum and know what they're talking about with how we transmit what into how to get to share with the kids. We don't have, I can't imagine, these people that we have working for us are great and they haven't failed us yet. I guess the one thing that I guess we could talk about a little bit is the sex ed that everybody's talking about. There was a bill passed a couple of years ago now that was districts weren't required to teach sex ed, but if you did decide to teach sex ed, there were minimums that had to be taught. We did not make a single change because we've used the same sex ed curriculum for decades, literally, and it's been doing right by us, and we didn't have to make any changes. There was a bill that was floated that was going to all districts required to teach sex ed. That's not going anywhere this year, my understanding. So we don't have to worry about that yet. But either way, it's not going to change the fact that parents can opt their kids out of the curriculum. There's very few things in the curriculums that can be opted out of, but that's one of them. And it's not going to change how we teach sex ed. We're going to stick with the same program that we've had all along, and it's something that has garnered very, very few complaints. And I've actually subbed in the district for a while, and I've actually sat through them, and there's nothing. It's all common sense kind of stuff.
Thank you. Ms. Gauthier, what are your views on curriculum trends and decisions, and who makes the decisions?
A lot of what Nancy Zettler just said, I absolutely agree with, and I don't want to just say that and I'm piggybacking off her answer. And there's something else very important that I also want to talk about. So state, puts down that curriculum, but SEL right now is a little bit under attack, I think, in our country. If you can teach a child to do math and these complex questions, and you can teach a child to write this great essay, great paper, all of that is incredible. get into college, that's fantastic. We want our children to go to college. If we cannot teach them to regulate their emotions, if we cannot teach them to be self-aware, if we cannot teach them to have social skills, then none of that is going to mean anything when they leave our district and they go to college and they are, in a higher educational environment or getting their first job. So SEL is incredibly important, and especially now when we've been through so much trauma and we've lost loved ones and we need to meet these kids. And yes, does it take time to build everything back up after what we've all been through? Absolutely. But we need to meet these kids where they are, and we need to support them emotionally, mentally, while also teaching them to do the math, the science, learn that curriculum. If they are not ready to learn, they will not learn. Being in a state of trauma is in a fight or flight response, and they cannot interpret new information and retain it. So we have to stop. The SEL cannot continue to just be attacked a little bit. It's an incredibly important part of our curriculum. Thank you.
Ms. Konstanty, what are your thoughts on curriculum trends and decisions?
I understand that the state of Illinois does impact our curriculum, but our district does have a lot of latitude in how we do teach that. As far as the sex ed and all the topics for opting out, I would like to check out how we can have parents opt in. That way the parents know what's being taught before the child's being taught that. I think a lot of parents would agree with that. And then I want to change gears a little bit and talk about career paths. I attended ECC dental assisting program right after high school, and that led to a great career as a dental assistant. I ended up going back to Elgin Community College, and I'm a graduate of the 2-year nursing degree program. I went on to get my bachelor's. My employer paid for that, and I've been a nurse, like I said, for almost 20 years. I love my job, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Our public community colleges offer so many wonderful programs that do not require a large university price tag. I would like to see more presence of the trade programs in our high schools, more tech career days in addition to the regular career days, and I would also like to bring local companies in to offer partnerships with our district. There are neighboring districts like Huntley 158 that offers the students opportunities to pursue specialized coursework on focused pathways: Medical Academy, Engineering Academy, Fine Arts Academy, and Global Academy. I know the Medical Academy because they come to my facility. They take all sorts of classes in this academy, and they partner with Northwestern Hospital. Their students are able to shadow and gain mentorship in all medical areas of the hospital system. I think it's a wonderful program, and I would like to see more of that.
Thank you. Ms. Makinde, your perspective on curriculum trends and decisions.
I think on curriculums, one thing I would like to see more is materials that include all our kids. Every kid can see themselves in the materials that they've been taught with. I think that's very important. I think I would like to see more of our history being taught in our school, the true history, not one that's been whitewashed. The facts and all, the good and the bad needs to be taught. In regards to trends, I would like to see more the use. I think we shouldn't be a district that's afraid to use technology. I think we should kind of leverage any kind of technology that comes our way. I know they introduced the school logic this year, and I see a lot of parents complain about it, and teachers have some problems using it and whatnot. I think, starting to use the technology is sometimes difficult, but once you get a hang of it, it's not bad. I think it's something that we should always be open to. We should always be looking for ways to improve how our district operates. I think our teachers, our students should also be put in a position to be challenged in different areas. I think our pathway is doing a good job right now, but I think we can do even a better job by kind of collaborating with different companies and collaborating with different schools for different programs. Like Kristina said regarding the medical pathway. Huntley, I have a friend that has a daughter in that program, and it's a fantastic program. I think our students should be able to do something like that. She went through it for a year, and she didn't, at the end of the year, she didn't really like it. So, I mean, that was 1 year not wasted in college, paying thousands of money. So I think I think it's a good program. Samantha from Hampshire, she's doing the veterinarian in Burlington Central. That's a good program as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parman, curriculum trends and decisions.
Well, I wanted to say something about the sex ed curriculum, and Ms. Zettler, she's right about that, and I have to give this district some applause for rejecting that state curriculum. Many districts in this area rejected that state curriculum. However, the governor still put together an initiative and tried to pass it through the House and through the Senate and so forth. And it stalled out a little bit, but I sat down and read every bit of it, and it was really interesting because I got my hand slapped a little bit on a platform because I said, no parent wants to, we have to watch out for this coming sex ed curriculum because no parent wants their little child to see an erect penis, and somebody said, well, show that to me. Well, it was really interesting when I went back to look at it, because I read the whole thing, and I went back and I found myself in not the curriculum, but the standards. Every subject has standards, and then they have curriculum. What's interesting is the moderator of our last debate said, I can't find the curriculum. Can you point me to it? And I went there again, and when you tap on the materials portion, it takes you back to the standards. The standards, while not as offensive as the curriculum, really do have some things in there that are shocking for a third grade, a fifth grader. I have it with me, but I only have 30 seconds. So that's an area of concern where we have to really dig in before we vote on something. That's the power in the board, that they read the materials. And educational material is very tough to read. You want to stick pencils in your eyes, but you have to read it if you want to be completely and fully informed on curriculum issues. And I think that's something that I really want to do I know, but I'm the last one. Sorry, everyone. I'm done.
Okay. Because not all of the candidates were able to be here tonight, we have a little bit more time than we originally anticipated. So I'm going to offer each of our candidates 2 minutes to either add to their remarks on any of the previous topics or to share your views on a topic not covered earlier. And we're going to begin with Ms. Gauthier.
I want to address some of what I believe is kind of happening in our district is just some of the division that's going on between the district, the community members. There's definitely been a lot of interesting things happening at some board meetings. We need to just kind of come back to center. Like we gotta pull it together. We're adults, so we need to act accordingly, conduct ourselves respectfully, follow the rules and what is laid out in front of us in those kinds of things. And we need to start respecting our teachers again. There's a lot of issues I believe happening with parents that all of a sudden they started distrusting our educators who went to school, went to college. I did not go to college to be an educator. So I take my children to school and I trust the school because that is what they have done. They have educated themselves in a way that I never have. So our educators have to be respected, and that is going to lead to more retention and more educated people coming to our district to work and call this place home. We have got to start acting like grown-ups and treating each other respectfully. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I would add from my previous comments. Probably not, except that I think that the district is doing good things, and I want to continue to help. I want to put myself out there and provide support where I think that our district is doing really amazing things. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Konstanty.
I would like to talk about parental involvement in our school district. As Randy said, there has been a lot of division, a lot of disrespectful talking between staff members, community members, even students. A large part of my motivation and platform has been increased parental involvement. Having a supportive family at home, as many have said, is a great indicator of a child's success. Opening more opportunities for parents to be involved in their child's education would increase our district's chance at success. Many teachers and staff would agree that parents who make the time to communicate and be present with them would be very helpful. Parents and staff are frustrated by the challenges and barriers to communicate with the schools, whether it be the limited parent-teacher conferences, emails, parent visits, technology, etc. Transparent communication about clubs, athletics, and other extracurricular activities could be improved. Many parents know that there's a PTO or that they can volunteer for class parties and field trips. The options such as having lunch with your student and one of their friends was something that I totally enjoy. I don't know that many parents know that that's an option. I proposed an idea at the last Parent Advisory Committee about safety. Todd Rowling, our Director of Safety, said that the best prevention against safety behavioral issues is well-trained adults. Why not offer a safety academy for parent and community volunteers? Volunteers in our district are already vetted and background checked, and many parents, such as myself, are already professionals who are fingerprinted and mandated reporters. These parent volunteers could be in the lunch, recess, bus, hallway duties. I know that teachers, staff, and the bus drivers would appreciate the help. They could focus more on building relationships, teaching, and driving the bus safely. As Tola said, the Schoology platform is difficult for parents to navigate. Having a Schoology Academy for the parents would be very helpful, and I think staff would appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Makinde.
I think the term, it takes a village, is something, that's very important. I grew up in a place where it literally takes a village. I remember growing up where I grew up, and every parent in the neighborhood takes care of every kid in the neighborhood. I think as a parent, we need to take a step back, get off our soapbox, and pay attention to what we're doing. Our kids are replicas of us. Whatever we're doing is what they see, and that's what they do. Our teachers are leaving us, and they're not just leaving us. They're leaving us because they're being abused by us. Either we want to accept it or not. I hear a lot of candidates on the platform talk about how our teachers are the best. We take good care of them. It starts from us. We have to do our best. We have to do our part. Treating them the way they need to be treated. Because if we treat our teachers the right way, we're able to form a partnership with them, with our kids, so that whatever is going on, they're communicating with us, and we're not left in the dark. I think if you have a good communication with every piece of that puzzle of the village, there wouldn't be a problem. So I think we need to work and do our parts, because our kids are watching us. They're gonna do what we do. They're the future, and we absolutely don't want the future to be a bad one. So I think we need to do a better job with that. And once we start doing that, our community will start coming together as one. I think we have a great community. Our diversity makes us pretty strong, and I think we need to try to leverage and try to take that as a superpower and kind of use it to be a good district. And I know, I have ideas in my head to help in building our community, and I know we can do a good job as individuals as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parman.
I want to talk for a minute about the organization of a school district. A school district is organized in 3 chambers or 3 houses, kind of like our government. We have the administration, and their job is to educate, and that's their mission. Then we have the union. Their job is to attend to the issues of the teachers and make sure that the teachers have what they need. And the school board is to be the arm of the parents. And I think, and I'm not just blaming District 300, this is a national problem, that these three houses have sort of melted together. And I think what we miss when they melt together like that is diversity of thought. And the idea that the union should fight for those teachers. They should really look at what the teachers want. And then the parents, the school board should really listen and invite those parents to speak. I think when people feel like they've lost their voice, they do get contentious because that brings their voice back to the table. I've said, embrace the teachers, not the union. I don't want to bust the union. I was a union member for 30 years. And so I'm not trying to bust the union, but I am trying to say outrageous things to nudge the union back into their lane so that when the teachers do have a problem, as some of them did during COVID, and they felt that the union wasn't there for them, that they were just like the administration. And parents felt kind of the same way about the school board. So we have to be alert to the people with whom we differ. And I think that would make a huge difference.
Thank you. And Ms. Zettler.
So I've got a list of things here that I want to say something about. Unfortunately, I have 2 minutes. Two things I'm gonna touch on real quickly. First of all, the sex ed thing. I think we need to be clear that the standards that Laurie is talking about are suggestions. They're not requirements. These are things that people from all over the country have worked on, and granted, some of it is a little bit out there, but nobody is required to follow the standards as they are written. They are suggestions. We can, like for instance, nobody in District 300 is ever going to make a child look at a picture of an erect penis. It's just not going to happen. And I doubt it's going to happen in any of the districts that I'm aware of, at least in this area. I'm sure some districts will be a little bit more conservative than we are. Some of them will probably be a little more out there than we are. But each district is allowed to make the decision on what they teach as long as it meets the requirements of the curriculum itself. The other thing I want to talk about is unions. It's always funny because people talk about unions like it's this giant monolith, right? Unions are people. The teachers' union is made up of teachers. And my experience with the teachers in this district, besides the fact that they're all amazing educators and they work their butts off for our kids, and they've gone through a lot over this past couple of years, and a lot of them are hurting and they need us to be helpful to them and understand them and let them recover, is that when it comes time for negotiations or things happened in COVID, they're not only thinking of themselves, they're thinking of their kids, our kids. And they go out of their way most often to do things that are good for our kids, not just good for themselves personally. In fact, a lot of them, they sacrifice a lot to teach in our district because teaching is a hard job. And it's something that they've gone through a whole heck of a lot more lately about, but even strip away COVID, teaching's a hard job, and we need to support that. And we need to support the union because the union is the teachers and the custodians, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to these candidates for School District 300, we will also be hosting a Meet the Candidates night for West Dundee trustees on March 21st at 7 p.m. at the Village Hall. Recordings of these and other forums will be available on our website, lwvelginarea.org, under Voter Guide for the 2023 consolidated election. Or you may use the QR code that was passed out at the front information table. Voting early, in person at all permanent polling places begins on March 20th, that's Monday, and voting on Election Day at your regular assigned polling place will be on April 4th. If you plan to vote early, please note that different sites are open different hours and there may be changes from previous years. You can check our information table by the door, or you can go to the Kane County Elections website for current information on polling places and hours. Thank you. That concludes tonight's Meet the Candidates night. I want to thank the candidates, the league members who work to provide this forum, and the voters who take the time to watch these forums and learn about the candidates in order to make an informed choice. We hope that each and every one of you will check out the candidate questionnaires on our website before voting and encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to do the same. We hope that this candidate forum presented as a public service by the League of Women Voters has been helpful to you. And I'm hoping that our candidates will be able to hang around a little bit afterwards to meet and greet. And if you had particular questions that you don't feel were covered by our topics, now's the chance to catch them. Thank you all for coming, and good night.